In this video, we are going to look at the emotion project from Motivation, Emotion, and Health. Right here, we're going to go into the module, and I'm going to continue working through the module until I get to the project. Make sure that you are, as always, reading and accessing the sidebar resources. Okay, so we are on page 8 of the module. We've done a good bit of it as we get to this project. The introduction's down at the bottom. Emotions are multifaceted. They include physiological arousal, expressive behaviors, and conscious experience. Sometimes mastering the ins and outs of emotion can be difficult. So let's put our emotions to the test through the completion of this assignment. Please download the instructions from the sidebar to the right for this project. And so, as always, we have our project and then we have our project rubric. So make sure you're checking the rubric before you submit. Okay, so in this project, let's look at the instructions. Emotion. This section explains the complex issue of emotions. There are several theories that try to explain our experience of emotion. There are 2 historical theories, the James Lange and the Cannon-Bard theories, as well as the newer Singer-Schachter 2-factor theory and the cognitive mediational theory. For this project, you're going to create a presentation to illustrate how we experience emotion. You can select a partner from anyone in the class in your course, or you can work on the project on your own. Be mindful that everyone needs to turn in their own submission to the Dropbox. The presentation should be created using PowerPoint, and any sources should be cited according to APA guidelines. So as in the past, with group projects, they are not a requirement. They are an option. You will not be assigned a group. You must find a group member from our class on your own, and you must email me, or you can Canvas inbox me and let me know who you'll be working with. And most importantly, when you turn in the project, every person needs to turn in their own submission. So even if you work on it together, every person turns in a submission to their separate Canvas account. So first thing is you have an option for this project. You can select one of the 2 prompts. So you don't have to do both, one or the other. We're going to read over both and decide which one you would prefer. Emotion option 1. In your project, you will include the following. Introduce the definition of emotion and then provide some examples. Describe how each of the theories below by creating a unique example to illustrate the process of how we experience the emotion. You should include images in your examples. So for the James Lange theory, you would create a slide that explains the theory and has an example, and you explain how that example is an example of the theory. What takes place first? Usually in emotional theories, you have a stimulus and you have a reaction, a physiological reaction, and you have an emotional response. And each theory states that they happen a little bit differently. So that's what you're going to be looking at. In the Cannon-Bard theory, again, you're going to provide an explanation and you're going to give an example that correctly identifies the steps of experiencing emotion. In the Schachter 2-factor, again, describe, explain how emotion is perceived with an example that illustrates it. And the last, cognitive mediational theory, describe, explain how emotion is perceived, and provide an accurate example. So that's the end of option 1. If you choose option 1, you'll be finished. Don't forget the APA guidelines. You'll need to have a final slide with your citations. For option 2, you're going to introduce the definition of emotion. Then you're going to provide some examples of emotion. And then you're going to respond to the following. What happens when we experience fear? Explain the body's reaction to fear and include relevant images. Second, how do we know when we are scared? Or for that matter, any other emotion we are feeling? Please include at least one image for each bullet. Include an example of non-verbal forms of fear. Explain gender differences in how we express emotions. And explain cultural differences in the expression of emotions. And so Again, each should have an explanation as well as an image that is an illustration of that explanation. And then don't forget your final slide that has your sources using APA guidelines.